So welcome, Paul Walsh.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Good to be with you. Great. Beautiful. Okay, so Paul, we've connected. How long ago? When did you start the course with us?
I would have started probably nearly 18 months ago, I think, is when I first started. Yeah.
Beautiful. So, I mean, you had a private practice before you started the course.
Yeah.
What were you doing before you started with us?
So I've been a therapeutic holistic massage therapist for 15 years. I trained as a remedial massage therapist post retiring or moving through a dance career, and then had a few years sort of in between, retrained as a remedial therapist. But I've spent probably 15 years, the first 10 years, every year I would add a new modality to my kit bag, and I sort of ventured more down the holistic, energetic, metaphysical side of the business, understanding, you know, the physicality of the body, but also seeing how we store and hold emotions, stress, tensions, life within the body, and how it sort of presents in injury management, all that sort of stuff. And so, yeah, I've had a career in doing that for 15 years, whilst being a parent, you know. Yeah.
So, I mean, so you said briefly you come from a dance background. So I'm guessing has that been part of the inspiration to help people with, you know, as a massage therapist, and then also looking at the body in general and what we hold and store in our body and how that affects us?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I did 12 and a half years as a professional dancer. And through that time, obviously, I've been through injury. Dance was always my outlet, I guess, for being able to express deep emotions, because it was such a beautiful form for me personally to be able to use it to express those emotions through my movement, because I just found it more therapeutic to do it that way for me. Luckily, at 8 years old, I started dancing, and I followed a dance career. I was lucky enough to be able to be accepted into one of the high-end dance colleges in London at 15, and I went to ballet school, and then I had a really nice career. Started off with ballet, but moved into more contemporary just because of the pure ability to be able to be part of the choreographic process and be able to use that emotive self through my movement.
Yeah.
And just the passion about the human body and what its abilities are, sort of then the natural progression into tactile side of therapy and body work. I had some amazing therapists when I was a dancer that kept me going. My career ended after 6 knee dislocations, and the 6th one I went, I've got to have a look into this because it's just continuing to happen. And that's when my awareness of metaphysics started to build, and understanding sort of change of direction and not listening to what I was supposed to be doing. And then I started to listen, and I just landed into being a therapist. And it was just from there on, really, the passion for understanding the body, mind, soul connection on a deeper level began then. And I've just been following that ever since, really.
Beautiful. So your body was telling you something, and you weren't listening until you decided to listen. So what was your body? What was your body saying?
It was really interesting because I come from a real working class English background. So dance for me was my out. You know, I don't have any issues with that lifestyle, but I knew really early on in my journey that I needed to explore bigger things than what I was being presented, and the dance was my way of being able to get out. And I used it, and I was good at it, but my belief within myself about how good I wasn't really very strong. And I've been, you know, the imposter within me has always been something that's challenged my dance career, because I never felt as though, no matter how good I was told the performance was, I never credited myself for being good enough to be doing what I was doing. So I went through a journey of not, through my dance career, as much as it was really powerful to be in it, I was never really believing that I should be in it. So that internal power battle that was going on really held me back to be able to, well, I see it as I held myself back at that point with not really being comfortable within my own skin. And my body started to tell me, because I was pushing and pushing and pushing to be better and better and better. And I put the hours in, you know, and just was never happy with what came out at the end product. So I would just push and push, and my body just started to fail. You know, I just pushed my body past the limits of what it was able to do. And I started to get really dark and really upset with the not knowing the direction that I was going to go from here. And then I just stopped and went, okay, you've pushed yourself enough. What do you need to do from here? Because you've done this to get yourself out of where you were. Where are you going to go from now? Because this isn't a long-term career that you're in the way that I was approaching it. So after understanding how to break it, I had to figure out how to fix it.
I mean, as a high achiever myself, I can really relate to that, you know, that pushing, that little voice in the back of our head saying, oh, you're not really good enough for this. You should really push yourself just a little bit harder. Like the bar always keeps moving further up and up and up. So it's pretty much impossible to reach it, because it's always ahead of you. It's always over there, and we're never seem to be arriving.
Yeah. And when I look back at it, I mean, I was really blessed with my dance career, because I was a fortunate male dancer who went from contract to contract to contract. But at the time, I always felt like I was chasing better. You know, I was lucky. I had 12 and a half years as a dancer, you know. But it stood me in really good. I mean, the discipline that it created, if I hadn't had that when I was 15, I would have been an absolute tearaway. Because I was lost, and now being older, wiser, and a bit more savvy about how we work, I was lost from a very early stage in my development as a child, you know. So that just compounded over time and over years until, you know, I decided to take charge of that. I went into the massage side of things, and I was really, I moved from the UK and came to Australia via Africa, which was a part of my disentanglement from the dancer. Like the Africa thing was about a grounding and becoming earthed again, from trying to get back to some sort of my working class roots, I guess, sort of my earthed roots. And then I came to Australia, new country, and I probably for the first, if I'm really honest, for the first 10 years of my time here in Australia, I still didn't feel settled. I still felt displaced, felt lost. I'd started my massage training. I did that, and I was really lucky. I separated in a marriage that I've got a now beautiful 18-year-old daughter from. But I needed to get out of the city, and her mum decided to stay, which was beautiful. Like, we were really amicable. We have a really good relationship. And I moved up to Dalesford and went to Dalesford, which is like the massage mecca. I was back then in 2003. And I started my career there as a head therapist at a little centre in Dalesford, with my training, and then just moved into the Reiki side and a lot more of the holistic approaches of bodywork. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. It's interesting hearing your story. We have so many parallels. When I hear it, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's almost like we've had a similar journey in a lot of ways, going through creativity, using creativity to express ourselves, and then moving into massage, similar to you. Actually, I did massage for a while. So you know, the massage it was really like that opening for me too, that idea of, oh, you know, there is a connection between what's going on here and what's going on in my body, which then led me into actually wanting to do that more, which led me into meditation therapy, holistic counseling, and down that road I went. Was it similar for you?
Oh, look, through my time in Dalesford, I connected and opened up to the more energetic and spiritual side of healing practices. I don't generally like to call them healings. Like, it's more of a modality, because I've always seen myself as a facilitator for people to self-heal, you know, because that's where the power comes from. It's handing the baton over to allow people to know. While I was in Dalesford, I was to support my next relationship and family. I massaged, but I also worked in the youth justice system. So the combination of sort of putting back into that turbulent society of people, juveniles that were feeling lost in society, was a really powerful thing for me, because I felt really lost as a kid. But the downfall that happened for me was I was exposed to a really traumatic incident that put me on my ass. And that was when I just knew that there was more work that I had to do for me, that then took me into a deeper connection regarding brain-body connection, because obviously I come from a really physical background. So I looked at the body on a physical sense, but knew that we stored a lot. But when I went through my incident that left me with PTSD, it made me have to stop running, sit back, figure it all out, work out how I could move forward with this. And it really brought into the play for me the connection of that mind-body connection, of how we all process it. What we do on a mental level affects how we can function on a physical level. And it made me have to strip everything back. I had to strip my whole journey back and start to understand it on a much more deeper level than what I had done, but also understand my pathways of why I'd chosen the direction, and what habits and what choices I've made through my journey that have got me to this point, so that I could then go, okay, I need to get back to some sort of base here so I can move forward. Otherwise, I'm going to be stuck in this dark place for a long time. And I did reach out for help, but realistically, what got me through it was grit, determination, and courage to know that there was a better life for me on the other side of it.
Yeah, it's fascinating hearing everyone's story. I mean, I hear a lot of different people's stories and the reason why they come to a place where they want to be counselors, therapists, or coaches. And very often we have a story of pain that leads us to that place. And it's not that we are in that pain currently, because I don't think we can become a good therapist or coach if we're still in that pain. We're still grieving ourselves. We have to move through it. But once we move through it, we can become really good at this profession, because we have another level of vulnerability that is, I suppose, the gift of the pain that we've had to go through. I mean, pain is just pain if we don't sit down and actually look at the teachings, you know, not until we sit down and look at it, it becomes wisdom and we can grow from it. And I find that a lot of people are the same, and it sounds like you have your story around that. So is that how you moved towards it? Sorry, is that how you decided that you wanted to help people that have those, dealing with those struggles as well?
Well, I mean, it was the catalyst that made me sort of really stop and go, okay, if I've gone through this, I want to know more. I want to know more about how this all works so that I can then add it to my toolkit so that I can become much more of a holistic approach practitioner. But the journey of it probably took about 4 years post the incident for me to really find my feet again. If I'm honest, I had to retract from everything in my life, and I became really insular so that I could regrow from like the seedling of what I wanted to create. And I came back to my massage. I knew that that was my energetic source that could keep me moving forward. Because the gift that I have as a therapist, like a body therapist, I still believe there's a higher power that comes through when I'm working, because it's just this connection that I can tune into. I had Mia, who's now 18, and I had 2 other kids in another relationship, and I had to go back to, I have to be a single father in this. And I knew that I had to come back to being just me. And when I released and allowed myself to let go, that's when my life turned the corner that I wanted to turn. And then I moved into being a single person. But now, I mean, I then met my wife, who I work with now. And everything since that point on, well, before that, but since then, the blossom has happened. And that's when I knew that there was more that I needed to learn, which is what led me down the path towards a holistic counselling, because I had people coming to my table that I could tell that there was stuff going on a physical level, and I could work with them to a certain degree, but I wanted to take it further so I could offer more and support more and be able to hold that space in a more rounded and a holistic way. And that's when I came down the pathway towards a holistic counselling.
So I mean, you might be doing this already, but is your kind of vision to be able to do body work with people alongside the counselling part, to combine that into your own modality or your own way to support people? Or do you see them as separate?
The long-term goal for the business is that Sarah's a yoga instructor. She's Ashtanga based, she's Ashtanga trained, she's Hatha trained. She's also really good with nutrition and knowledge and food knowledge. And she's done a lot of meditation work, so that as a team, we would love to be able to facilitate full holistic packages where every aspect of the holistic being can be taken into account. And down the track, once the kids get a little bit older, there is retreat sort of ideas that we've already sort of assimilated. So Sarah's already worked as an assistant manager at a retreat centre. So we've got all these little tools that we can now meld together to create what it is that we're looking for. Because ideal for us is to be able to work in deep session, in groups, as well as individuals, and create packages for people to look at the greater aspect of the holistic wellness package.
Oh, that's amazing, because it sounds like it will create this real holistic approach to healing and inner growth, which and original too, because you're 2 powerful practitioners and you both got different talents. You're using different tools, different modalities to help somebody, which makes it really versatile, So that sounds really, really fascinating and really exciting. And obviously that's part of your vision I'm guessing you have a vision of what you wanted to create, and I'm guessing that's part of that.
Yeah, I mean, as part of Gracious Flow, at the moment, I'm just offering the online stuff. regarding my holistic counselling and the empowerment coaching. I'm also doing some relationship support and relationship development stuff through the Zoom platform. But our long-term goal is to have this, like we envisage having a centre that we can utilise for retreat base. At the moment, we've got a 5, a 3, and a 11-month-old. So we're also being realistic in regards to our holistic family unit and what they need at the moment. So this is where our journey is traveling towards. We are looking at offering this as we develop as a family, but also as the business develops from here.
Yeah, great. And the thing is, it's great to have a vision and it's great to work towards something. But as you said, it's also good to remember what's happening right now, where I am right now, where we are right now, because at the end of the day, that is the only thing we have is this present moment. So I love the fact that you already working as a coach, you're supporting people online, you're doing all those things, because I know being a body therapist working with actual people, seeing them physically has been a bit of a challenge at the moment as well. So, it's great that you're able to use another tool to support people, because at the end of the day, when you sort your mind out, your body benefits in so many ways, even though you can't be in the same room with somebody.
Well, I think also I've probably gotten to a stage in my journey where I can see the evolution of my holistic package. And I mean, working as a body therapist, I love. It's something that I just get so much joy out of, but it's very physical on me. And I'm transitioning through that stage where I want to focus probably a little bit more on my holistic counselling and coaching side, as well as utilizing my skill set that I already have. But yeah, the being able to offer that holistic counselling and coaching, I feel like that's where my journey is heading, more than spending as much time focused on my body work. And I just think, at the moment where we're at, it's probably more needed than ever at the minute. Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of people out there, and I don't see a trend of that going downwards anytime soon. There's a lot of people needing support. There's a lot of people looking for a holistic way to get that form of support. And also people are even more open now to get that support like this, like you and I are talking right now. And you have another benefit too, because you've been working as a body therapist. I know obviously you're used to tactile touching people, being able to physically touch them, but you will have an ability to read people in a different way in comparison to myself or somebody else that hasn't done any of that body work, that even when you are on the screen with somebody, you would be able to pick up on things energetically, or seeing the twitch or something physical going on. You have that insight. There's a talent there that you have that you will be able to use, even though you're not physically working with somebody on their body. Have you noticed that? Do you notice that when you're working with people now?
Oh yeah, I mean, Sarah actually laughs at me because I can tell what part of the body is out of line or where the issues are from walking behind somebody down the street. How they sit in the chair, it shows up, because the body's so amazing in regards to the way that it works in a diagonal sense and how alignment, people can have issues with the left little toe and it shows up in the way that the head's tilted, So all those things, like, they do show up. And Sarah laughs at me because I can spot it a mile away sometimes. And I have to keep it internal a lot of the time. Like, okay, yeah, I can see that, but I've got to get them to see it without me going point it out at you.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Yes, right. And that's a gift. That's a gift. Not everyone has got that. It's it could be a blessing and a curse sometimes. all those kind of things.
Turning this off.
Yeah, when you can read someone's energy or someone's physical body, because I can read people's energy, and sometimes that's a bit of a curse too, because you know too much. It's like, I don't really want to know that, or I just want to meet you and not have any, I don't want to know about all that stuff. But it is a blessing when you're working with people to be able to be that deeply connected. I mean, it is a form of intuition, I would say. It's an intuitive thing that became a talent. I think we can actually fine tune that. I think every person can get to a certain level of fine tuning that. But also then there is that sometimes we just have that natural talent. I'm guessing because you've been a dancer from the beginning, you know, your background, everything has led you to become very good at reading people.
I think reading people, observing and acknowledging and finding that compassionate space where, like, because you can get it wrong. I mean, there can be things where you think you go, okay, this is what's going on, and you go, okay, and then you sort of maybe but you'll work on not an assumption, on an observation that you've picked up. And then as you start to unwrap it, you go, okay, so it's not that what I may have thought could be going on. It's actually, there's a deeper issue going on here, and this is how it's presenting, but it's a much deeper process that we need to go through to get to where it's come from, because there's, you know, the tree of branches that come off it can present physically and spiritually and emotionally, but what you think might have been the root is just part of the trunk that's leading down to the bigger root cause, you know, not problem, but cause. And so I think it's a really good, having that intuition and observational skill is really powerful. But I know from a therapist point of view, I have to also release, step back and tune in deeper than just using that skill base to guide me. There's got to be a bigger power that comes in to find that, quite often find what's underneath it even further than what you initially think. You know?
Yeah, for sure. And everything goes through our personal lens of observation too.
Absolutely.
So
you've got to be able to take it out. Go, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes that little lens can be very deceiving and it can feel really real, but it's actually just ourselves that we're reading through somebody else. So hence the reason why we need to do our inner work continuously, because
absolutely.
we need to make sure that lens is as clean as we can all the time, because it's easy to get it's easy for it to get a bit unclear, I should say, when we're not paying attention. And
I think recognizing it when it is unclear, where you need to get the lens cleaner out and give it a polish, is being able to do that mid-session is really good, because like you can just go, okay, just step back, clean your lens, now go, okay, new page. Let's have a look at this, where we at, you know, and that's what I'm loving about that the holistic counselling training that I've gone through, the coaching, you know, everything that I've done with the course is just, I guess there was the trunk was there, but now I'm sort of putting on the foliage and the blossoms that I need to be able to be that complete tree, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful. Okay, so it's been really nice to chat to you and for you to share what you're doing. If people want to find out more about you, where can they go? How can they do that?
So we are called Gracious Flow. We've got a webpage, www.graciousflowtherapies.com.au. We're on Facebook at Gracious Flow Therapies, Instagram, Gracious Flow Therapies. And you can email us for any information, just at graciousflowtherapies@gmail.com.
Wonderful. Great. Love your work. It's great to have you in our college, and it's really inspiring to watch you grow and flourish. And I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen in the future and where it's going to take you as well. So thank you so much, Paul.
No worries. Thank you for having me. It's been a joy talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right. You take care.